I've seen a lot of chatter, and my dad was one of these people I got into a big argument with him about. He says Joe Flacco is better than Deshaun, which is silly to me. But say Joe Flacco, even if we don't go to the Super Bowl, okay, because that's still a tough task with the injuries. But if we clinch a week early, and then we go into Jacksonville and we beat Jacksonville, and we're playing in the divisional round, and say we lose there in a close game on the road, I think the Browns, like, I obviously know Deshaun is better, and Deshaun was turning the corner, but man, they're in a tough spot now, because if you send Joe Flacco packing in week 1 next year, Deshaun comes out and throws for 150 and he's throwing 5 balls into the dirt, it is going to be the shitstorm of a lifetime.
We talked about it. We talked about it before we came on.
We said we weren't going to talk about it, but
we're going to talk about it. We're talking about it because you brought it up. So here's my thing, right? I think with how well Joe Flacco is playing, if he wants to continue playing, I think you got to offer him some kind of contract to just come in and just be the backup guy. And Josh was like, well, hey, are you worried about the noise over the shoulder kind of stuff? And I said, it's Deshaun Watson. He can't be nervous about who's over his shoulder.
Yeah, but do you do that to your franchise?
So here's the thing: as Browns fans,
the fan base would be insufferable.
We have to just trust the process. You know what I mean? Look at how many injuries have happened at quarterback this year, including our own. I think that you have to just literally if you can bring him back, and then you can also have him in almost like a mentoring role to DTR and even to Deshaun. You know what I mean? And this system, I think that. I don't look at it as, for me, I'm like, Deshaun's the guy moving forward. Obviously the money is on Deshaun. Obviously we paid all that money, draft picks. He has to be the guy. I think as a fan base, we have to just chill. And the first time that he doesn't have a great series, we can't be booing and bring Flacco in.
Well, I'm telling you, week 1, if Joe Flacco's on this roster and if Deshaun throws a first quarter pick, it will be raining boos and chanting Joe 6 minutes into the first game.
We better go get Zach Wilson and Max Duggan to be our backup guys.
That's all I'm saying.
That's what we should do.
And 2, if he plays this well, Joe Flacco's not going to sign to be the backup. He'll go to a team that needs a quarterback that's going to give him a chance to start.
Yeah, one thing that I talked about with the Discord guys was, there is a difference between Joe Flacco and the Browns offense in this part of the year and Deshaun Watson early on, because early on we still had a run game. Deshaun brings that other level of, can he run the ball? Is he going to, that kind of stuff. So I just don't know how anybody can say, outside of just straight up hating, with any confidence that there's no way Deshaun would be able to do what Joe Flacco's doing. I mean, Deshaun Watson's thrown for 300 yards before. Deshaun Watson can go out there and rip it and lead a passing attack. So, if the run game was like it is now and Deshaun Watson was the quarterback, we'd still have to throw the ball 40 to 50 times a game. I'm not taking anything away from Joe. No, Joe's getting the job done, and he's doing it very well, and I'm loving every second of it.
No, he was turning the corner. I mean, his last game he played, he went 14 for 14 in the second half against the Ravens. Until he had to come back with a broken shoulder. His last 3 full healthy games, 68% completion percentage or
80%
something like that.
Adjusted, which is what I like.
And I only care about what actually happened. What does the adjusted do?
It takes out spiked balls, throwaways, stuff or drop passes from receivers.
I guess. I just and 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, and he was 3-0. So he was turning the corner, and I'm convinced of that. Now, I do think Deshaun's got to study maybe some of what Joe has done in this play action type offense. I think there's things he can take away. I also think Stefanski has to look in the mirror and be like, okay, Deshaun isn't Joe. Maybe I do need to cater some things to Deshaun because he is going to be the quarterback for the next 3 to 4 years. And I think there's going to have to be a little bit of a hybrid. You're going to have to
meet in the middle.
Yes, because again, I don't know if you can. I don't have the answers. I don't know if you can have Joe Flacco on this roster next year unless he's going to be the starter. Because again, 1 interception and people were screaming for DTR.
Yeah. And one thing with Joe Flacco and Deshaun to remember, Joe Flacco will be 39.
Yes.
And I know he's playing great right now. It's been 4 games we have not seen. Can Joe Flacco hold up for a whole season? Those are the kind of questions if you're clamoring for that. You got to ask yourself those things. Deshaun's 28. He's young. I mean, he's the guy. I like what Owen said in the chat. Let me see if I can find. He said Watson with the full season this year might just have been the MVP discussion. I mean, you don't know. You have no idea how the season would have unfolded. Unfortunately, he got that shoulder injury in week 3.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was kind of a lost season, which sucks. But right after that, the next one, hey, he was 5-1 and it starts. I say 4-1 because the Colts game doesn't really count. He threw 5 passes.
Yeah.
Still 4-1. Like you said, Blake, in his last 3 games, 3-0, putting up great numbers, good stats, leading a comeback in Baltimore. Like that was pretty cool.
I saw something here said, why wasn't DW doing it then? Again, I feel like
we just talked about
it. Why didn't he, how many 300 yard games did he have? The Tennessee game 100% should have been 300 yards.
Easy.
Amari Cooper was inbounds by 15 feet and they called him out of bounds.
Yep.
Okay. So, in Arizona, he didn't play the last quarter and a half.
Right.
So, yeah. Is Deshaun going forward? And I understand what you're saying, Justin, because you want to have a good backup.
Yes.
It's the same reason Tebow couldn't get on a team anywhere after Denver. It's the same reason why a lot of these guys, now it's been forever, but immediately after all of this stuff, Kaepernick couldn't get on it. Colin Kaepernick was 100% good enough to be a backup quarterback somewhere. But you can't, your backup quarterback has to be the guy who's standing right there in the room and you don't know he's there.
Your backup quarterback needs to know he's the backup quarterback.
Yes. And I think Joe mentally would be okay, but this fan base mentally would not be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's nothing about this fan base, and I love you guys, that tells me we could mentally handle Joe Flacco sitting on the bench and Deshaun Watson having like a not great game. It would be
DTR had to come get stomped by the Ravens just for people to quit talking about bringing him in.
Yes. So we could mentally handle that.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.